Friends, you must have heard that the fruits of deeds and the writing of fate never get erased. We do good deeds and bad deeds on earth and think that no one is watching us, but there is a supernatural power that always keeps an eye on us. You must have heard the saying that you will reap the crop as you sow. As you sow, you will reap the fruit as well. But I have a question. Do you believe that as you sow, you will reap the fruit too? Let us understand through this story. A farmer named Peter lived in a village. In his family, only Peter and his wife lived. One day, the farmer and his wife went to another city to sell grains. When they were coming back to their city from another city after selling grains, both were going through a deserted road in an unknown city. When they crossed the border of another state, they met some robbers on the way, and those robbers stole whatever the farmer and his wife had. They looted everything that was there, and in this way, the farmer and his wife were made beggars by the robbers. After this, the gang of robbers left from there. The robbers left, but after looting the farmer and his wife, both of them got worried and started thinking what to do next. Firstly, both were in bad condition in an unknown city, because in an unknown city, money is everything. The farmer started moving towards the unknown city with his wife. He was worried about what should do now, and if I do, then how should I do it? He was moving in this worry when he saw the hut of a Buddhist monk outside the city. The farmer took his wife and started towards the hut. When he reached the hut, he found a Buddhist monk there who was giving a sermon to his disciples sitting on a platform. Seeing the Buddhist monk, the farmer started thinking, why not tell my problem to this monk? Maybe he will solve my problem. Thinking this, the farmer reached the Buddhist monk and greeted him. Then, in a very humble tone, he told his problem to the Buddhist monk and said, "Wise monk, if somehow you mortgage my wife to some rich man and get me some money, then it will be a great favor from you." When the monk heard the farmer, the monk felt pity for the farmer. The monk told about his acquaintance merchant and sent the farmer to him. The farmer reached the merchant with his wife and with folded hands said to the merchant, "Merchant, I need some money. I have nothing else to mortgage, only my wife. You mortgage my wife and give me some money. I will soon return your money with interest by doing some business with that money and will free my wife from you. Till then, my wife will remain mortgaged with you in the money given by you." When the merchant heard the farmer, he agreed to give the money and mortgage the farmer's wife with him in exchange for money. The farmer mortgaged his wife to a merchant, took a loan from the merchant, and went ahead to do business. The farmer started a grain business with that money. Now he became a trader from a farmer. Now he used to buy grain from farmers at cheap rates and sell it to other needy farmers. He used to sell it at high prices. In this way, Peter earned a lot of money in a very short time. When Peter earned a lot of money after 8 months, Peter returned to the same city where he had mortgaged his wife to that merchant. Peter came to the city and went straight to the merchant and said, "Merchant, I had mortgaged my wife to you 8 months ago. You settle your accounts, take the money from me, and return my wife to me." Hearing this, the merchant said, "Brother, what should I tell you? It happened 3 months ago. Your wife suddenly fell sick, and due to that illness, your wife died. I got your wife treated a lot. I told the best doctors, but still, I could not save your wife." When Peter heard this from the merchant, he became very sad. Then, with some patience, he said to the merchant, "Merchant, whatever was to happen, it has happened. Maybe it was written in my fate that even if she lived with me, she had to die after completing her lifespan. Who can avoid destiny? Still, you take your money from me so that I can be satisfied that I gave my loan, and I have saved myself from the stigma of keeping my wife mortgaged by repaying your loan." Hearing Peter's words, the merchant said, "No, brother, how can I take that money from you now? When I cannot return your deposit to you, then I have no right to take back my loan." Peter repeatedly requested the merchant to take back his loan, but the merchant did not agree. When Peter left there with a sad feeling, he again reached the same place on the way where he had met the Buddhist monk for the first time. As usual, the wise Buddhist monk was giving sermons to his disciples while sitting on his platform. Peter also went and sat there for peace of mind and started listening to the sermons of the Buddhist monks. When the monk saw Peter, he recognized him and started asking about his well-being. Peter told the entire incident to the monk. Hearing Peter's words, the monk said, "Peter, that merchant has cheated you. Your wife is alive, Peter. Either that merchant has hidden your wife in his house, or that merchant has sent your wife to some acquaintance of his at some faraway place. Now you do this. Go to the king here and go to the king's court and pray that King Vikram get my wife back from the merchant, because the king of this city is a very intelligent person. He will force the merchant to get your wife back to you. Your decision will be made in his court." When Peter heard the words of that monk, Peter agreed with the Buddhist monk and left for the king's court. Peter reached the king's court and started pleading to the king that, "Your Majesty, get my wife back from the merchant. Your Majesty, I have borrowed some money from a merchant. In return, I had mortgaged my wife to the merchant. When I went to the merchant with money to take my wife, he said that she had died. He is lying." Hearing Peter's request, the king called the merchant into the court and asked him, "Merchant, is it true that this farmer had mortgaged his wife to you in return for some money?" The merchant accepted and said, "Yes, king. What the farmer said is true." The king then asked, "Why are you not returning his wife?" Hearing the king's words, the merchant said, "How can I return her, Your Majesty? I have told this farmer that his wife has died 3 months ago. Your Majesty, now I cannot bring his wife back." The king asked, "Do you have any witnesses who can confirm that his wife has died?" The merchant said, "Yes, Your Majesty. The one who has witnessed this will confirm this very well." The 4 persons who had treated the wife testified this fact. Those who had cremated his wife in the crematorium confirmed this with such confidence that even the king believed him. Then the king said to Peter, "If your wife was alive, we would have surely given it to you. Now we are also helpless." In this way the king explained to Peter and sent him back. Peter again reached the monk and told him everything that the king and the monk said in the court. Hearing all this, the wise Buddhist monk said, "I did not think the king to be so ignorant. I am sad that he did not do any justice to you. The king believed the words of the businessman and sent you back to me after explaining. Now you listen to me. You go to the king once again and tell him that he should give me the right to sit on his throne for just 3 hours, and then I will become the king. I will tell how justice is done and what is justice." Peter once again reached the court of the king and told the king as the monk had said. When the king heard this from Peter, he said, "I have no objection to leaving the throne for 3 hours. If by doing this you will get justice, then I will leave my throne for that monk for 3 hours. You bring that monk to the royal court." When Peter heard these words of the king, Peter went to the monk and brought him to the royal court. When the monk reached the royal court, the king handed over his throne to that monk. Then, as soon as he sat on the throne, he presented the merchant in front of the monk and said to him, "Merchant, you said that this farmer's wife died from heaven 3 months ago while he was with you, and you say that you also have witnesses of his wife's death. Can I meet those witnesses?" Then the monk-turned-king was presented on the orders of the Buddhist monk. First of all, the monk called the doctor who had treated Peter's wife. The monk asked the doctor, "Why, doctor, did you treat Peter's wife?" The doctor said, "Yes, I treated Peter's wife." Hearing the words of the doctor, the monk said, "Okay, tell me whether you used to go to the merchant's house to treat Peter's wife, or Peter's wife used to come to you for treatment." Hearing the words of the monk-turned-king, the doctor said to the king, "Your Majesty, merchant used to come to my dispensary himself and take the medicine." The monk said, "That means you cannot say with confidence that the merchant used to take the medicine only for Peter's wife or for someone else." Hearing the monk, the doctor said, "Yes, Your Majesty, I cannot say with confidence for whom merchant took the medicine, but the merchant took the medicine from me." Hearing the words of the doctor, the monk said that this means that you give medicines without seeing the patient. This is very serious. You can give poison to someone in place of medicine, and it is possible that Peter's wife died because of the poison given by you. Hearing these words of the monk, the doctor's face turned pale due to fear, and he said in a fearful voice, "No, sir, this can never happen." Why would I give poison to any of my patients in place of medicine in this way? All my respect and prestige will also be ruined." Hearing the words of the doctor, the monk said, "Now you will say the same thing. I will tell you this. I am going to order 50 lashes for the crime of negligence towards my duty and playing with the life of a patient. Along with this, your face will be blackened and you will be paraded around the city. Now you decide whether the doctor will tell the truth or I will order the soldiers to arrest you." Hearing this, the doctor's body started trembling, and he fell at the feet of that monk and said, "Please forgive me. I admit that I did not treat any of the merchant's patients. Merchant had given me money and had said that if the need for testimony arose, I should testify in his favor. My only crime is that I accepted the proposal of this merchant out of greed. The monk became the king." The monk said, "Doctor, whatever may be the crime, you have committed a crime, so I order you to be given 100 lashes for the charge of giving false testimony." The king obeys the order of the monk. The soldiers of the king immediately followed. The soldiers immediately caught hold of the doctor and started whipping him in the court. As soon as the first whip hit him, he screamed and said, "Your Majesty, have mercy on me. Your Majesty, have mercy on me, I will die." With every whip, pitiful sounds started coming out of his throat. His screams echoed in the royal court. Seeing this happen to the doctor, the hearts of the 4 people who were called witnesses by the merchant, who had talked about taking Peter's wife to the crematorium and burning her, were shaken. Now it was the turn of those 4 witnesses. The monk asked them, "You people say that you 4 took the body of this Peter farmer's dead wife and burnt her in the crematorium. Tell me, before the last rites when the dead body is bathed, then it is wrapped in a shroud and placed on the ground. During the bath, did you see the dead body of that woman?" Hearing this, the merchant said, the 4 witnesses said, "No, sir, we did not see his dead body. It was only after the merchant had prepared the beer that we took him to the crematorium and cremated him." After listening to the 4 witnesses, the monk said, "And you did not even think it appropriate to know whether a dead person is lying in that beer or a living person? Is it so that a person unconscious due to some poisonous substance is lying in it, and you took him to the crematorium and cremated him? This is a very serious crime. For this, you people can be given the death penalty." The 4 witnesses were already scared after seeing the beating of the doctor. When they heard about the death penalty from the mouth of the monk, it was as if all their hands and feet had become completely numb. The monk looked at the merchant with humility. As soon as the monk looked at the merchant's face turned dark. The monk said to the merchant, "Merchant, all your 5 witnesses have already lost their cool. Now you tell me what punishment you would like to receive for forcibly keeping someone's wife in the house against someone's wish, and for the crime of breach of trust." Hearing the words of the monk, merchant's face turned pale. He could not utter a word. The monk who had become the king said, "Merchant, before I sentence you to 10 years of rigorous imprisonment, there is still time for you to present this Peter farmer's wife in the court." Fearing punishment, the merchant immediately sent his servants to his house, and after sending the servants home, presented Peter's wife in the court. The monk took Peter's wife from the merchant, handed her over to him, and sentenced the merchant to 5 months' imprisonment for giving false testimony. The 4 witnesses were also given the harshest punishment. The king was surprised to see this and folded his hands in front of the monk and said, "Buddhist monk, you are blessed. You have taught me how justice is done." Listening to the king, the monk said, "King, always remember my 3 things. You should never leave your wife alone at these 3 places. Now we will tell you the places where if someone leaves his wife alone, then he has to repent a lot. The first place is if your wife is surrounded by any disease and she falls ill, then in such a situation you should never leave her alone in illness, because when a man marries a woman, then at the time of marriage he promises that I will stay with you in your happiness and sorrow and throughout your life. So always stay with her in the state of illness and take care of her. The way a wife serves her husband, in the same way it is the duty of the husband to take care of his wife. You must always be ready to serve your wife. Secondly, if your wife is innocent and someone falsely accuses her, then in such a situation you should always stand by her, because a girl leaves her parents' house with the hope that her husband will understand her feelings and support her in every situation. So if people are falsely accusing her, then you should stand by your better half. You should never leave her alone at such a time. Or if such a situation arises, then you should tell your wife that you should not worry at all. I am standing with you. Thirdly, never leave your wife with other men even by mistake. You should never leave your wife alone with any other man under any circumstances, because in today's time, no one knows who will cheat whom and when. After listening to Buddhist monk's words, Peter and King also understood. I hope you liked today's video. So share this video with the person who needs to hear this story and subscribe to the channel right after that. So let's meet again in another new video with a new message. Till then, take care of yourself.